All right, guys, let's see if we can narrow things down a little bit further. You know, looking at both of these two, I really wanted more backlit glow against that hillside, and I'm not really seeing it, so they're both going to be a goner for me. This one's got some potential, maybe, so we'll keep that. Now I got to decide which one, that one or that one. It's a tough call. I think this one has better chance of standing out. I do like the tree back there. Boy, I don't know. It's a tough one. Maybe I'll hang on to both. Well, let's see. Let's look side by side here. I'm definitely going to be cropping that goose out. I'm just trying to decide which layering I like and where the bird stands out more, because I do have more dark in the background here, but the tree is just a little too close. It doesn't feel like it fully balances out the image as I would like it to. I'd love for the tree to be placed somewhere over here or the bird to be placed somewhere over here in this particular one. It's a tough call. I'm just going to go with, let's see. Boy. I mean, I know I can technically hang on to both of them here, but yeah, I'm going to do that for now. I'll revisit. This one is just going to have, I'm going to lose too much of the scenery to crop out all those birds, so that one's going to get rejected. That's a fine one to see him landing coming in. Same there. You know what? I like the glow on the feathers more here, so I'm going to keep this one. That's cool. You know what? That's the one that's going to be. I'm just going to crop the other bird out. I don't want to remove this bird, so delete that one. Keep this one. Hanging on to this just for records. That's funny just because he's looking back. Shows off the habitat. That's the one I'm definitely going to edit. I do like this one that shows a little bit more of that glow and the geese flying out of the flock. So that's kind of cool. I don't know if it's worth a final edit. That one's hilarious. Kind of cool. It's got like a dreamy feel to it. So I dig that one. Maybe I'm going to delete that one. I'm going to hang on to that one. That one's interesting too. It's a little too offset, but I'll crop in a little on it. That one doesn't do it for me. There's not enough of the bottom in it, so I'll delete it. And I think I like that one. Well, let's see. Oops. I'm more interested in how these water lines kind of lead in there. So I think there's more kind of water line leading in on that one than that one. So yeah, let's get rid of this one. And is there anything worth? Nah, delete that one. Okay, so that's the narrow down there. Let's see. We'll delete those. That leaves us with 15 photos left. All right, so let's pick some for the final edit. All right, I think I'm going to do... That's so funny. I still go back and forth on this one. Let's do this one. Yeah, that one's not cutting it for me. No. Yes. Definitely that one. Maybe this one. This one's funny. We'll play with that one. And you know what? Let's do with this one. Okay, so there we go. We'll filter this out. We got 7 photos. I don't know that I need to edit that many, although a couple of these are going to be really, really easy. So yeah, let's do it. We'll edit all 7 of these and see what we can come up with. All right. Thanks for watching. On to the edits. All right, jumping right into the first edit here. Straighten this thing out in the first place, and then definitely offset the crop there. I do want to minimize that water because it's just bright and not really attractive because it was windy as hell that day. So I'm going to warm it a little bit more. And I do want to leave the light kind of dark and contrasty. So yeah, let's start with a linear on the bottom portion here. We'll darken down all the water just to minimize that. And then, let's try subject select, see what it does. All right, not exactly what I wanted, so let's do an object select instead. I'll just get most of the bird there. Hopefully that works better, much better. We'll invert that, and let's go ahead and darken, and mainly darken those highlights. That's what I wanted to tone down a good bit. Yeah, and I'm just trying to make the bird stand out a little bit more. Everything else, I think I'm going to have to do a little bit more selectively in Lightroom. Let's see how that subject select worked again. Or actually, let me see how yeah, see, it's not real good up there. And in fact, yeah, it didn't make the bird's beak disappear, but I'm just going to do everything else in Photoshop at this point. So yeah, let's go into Photoshop. Here we go. Some basic removal. I just want to get rid of some of these light spots in here, here, here. Just dimming these minor distractions down. There we go. Okay, and let's get to burning. All right, I'm going to take the highlights down. We'll invert that. Just paint that in mainly across this real bright strip there. That's the big area that's getting most of the light, most of the attention there. And then we'll hit some of these other areas. I do want to minimize the tree back there, even though it's kind of an important part to me. And then we'll darken this water down a good bit as well. There we go. And then I'll make sure I didn't darken down the breast of the bird too much there. And let's go ahead and lighten it up. The bird, that is. So I lightened that curve, I inverted it, and then we'll just start painting it in right where we want to see more detail. And this is probably going to be too much, but I can always come fade it back away if needed. And that's usually what I'll do. So let's just try and gently lighten the bird up there. Yeah, see, that looks like a little bit much. So a little bit bigger brush, low opacity, and then I'll just paint with black and fade it away like that. There we go. And let's zoom in here. We'll do another curves adjustment layer. See if we can get a little bit more on that red and the eyeball there. So we'll hit the eye with some white. There we go. And then we'll just kind of come across the top here and even out some of that red. Just get that weird red crown showing up a little bit more. I think that's about it. That's about all I want to do to this to make that bird stand out more anymore. And I believe it's going to start looking a little weird. I'm going to do one more burn. So we'll take this down, darken that, and I'm going to hit some of these areas right in here. Oops. Oh, accidentally delete that. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. Sorry about that. Hitting some wrong keys. There we go. Okay. Shortcuts are great until you hit the wrong button. And you're like, what in the heck did I do? So anyway, I'm on that burn curve layer there, and then just painting in some of these areas a little bit darker, mainly right around the crane's head and body here, just so he's in kind of like a bigger area of just dark space, which is kind of what I want there. So watch this. See that? It just minimizes all that stuff down. And now we really get from there to there, standing out a little bit more. So let's go ahead and close that. That should do it. We can see some terrain in the background there. It's kind of cool. The crane stands out. I wish I could see the eye a little bit more like it was lit up like some of those others, but everything else about those other versions just didn't work the way I wanted. So I wasn't really happy with them. And if we do a full compare before and after, you can see how much more that crane stands out, especially once I really go darker with the water there. And yeah, just kind of minimize that background a little bit. So there we go. There's our final image. Number 1. On to the next one. All right, for this one, yeah, let's see if we can just crop this second bird out. Be gone, bird. It's a heavy offset at that point, though. So that's why I don't know if it's going to look, it's a little weird, but let's bring in off of this side. We'll just do a tight crop on this thing. And then I don't love the water at the bottom there, so something like that. That's not bad. I mean, it shows off the light, shows off the habitat there. The bird stands out quite nicely. It's a little too reddish for me. So something like that. I'm just going to clean up the white balance. And then let's see if we can get a subject select on that crane. Good enough. And we're just going to pop him out of there a little bit. We'll bump those highlights up a little. Be done with that. And then I'm just going to drop the blacks a little. Make sure I got nice rich contrast in this. And then I think we should be good to go there. Let's hop into Photoshop real quick. I'm not loving this photo. I'll finish editing it since I started here. I do want to minimize that light area across the bottom, so we're going to do a little burn layer and then just kind of paint that across the bottom. So that helped that out. I held shift while I was painting there. While I'm on this burn layer, let's just darken down some more of this kind of hillside here. And then a little bit more of that. Some of this grass can go a little bit darker as well. I'm just trying to make the crane stand out the most. Stands out pretty good there. Let's do another curves adjustment layer. Brighten the head up just a little bit, mainly that red area. Their goofy crown. There we go. The rest of the head and body is lit up pretty well there, I would say. And then let's see if we can put a little bit more blue in that sky. So we'll go to the blue channel, add a little blue. We'll go to back to the red channel, take a little tiny bit out. There we go. That's a nice blue cyan sky. Invert that adjustment layer, and then we'll just paint it in back there. That's better, right? And you know what? Let's take some of that and put it in right along there as well. I mean, I don't really feel like I need to do much more on this photo. Before, after. It's definitely standing out a little bit more. Colors look a little bit richer. I got rid of that light fade at the bottom, and it's not a photo I love, so I'm not going to spend an extreme amount of time on it. But I think there's definitely some improvement there, especially when we consider the original had a second bird in it that just wasn't positioned quite nicely. So we've definitely cleaned things up, and that crane stands out nicely. It was a tough thing to do in that habitat, as I'm sure you saw during the shoot, to get any one of these individually by themselves. Anyway, there we go. On to the next one. All right, this is the one. Okay, so first step, let's straighten it out along this shoreline there. We'll crop just that little bit of water out. You know, and then I was playing with the crop before, and I think the right call is to remove the sky out of this altogether, only because it's so bright up there, and because this is a silhouette, I wanted it to be all about the coyote here and that to be the brightest area. So let's drop our shadows. I'm really trying to increase contrast here is what I'm trying to do. So I dropped the blacks a little bit. Let's drop the darks down here. Ooh, there we go. Now we're really getting into that kind of silhouette type deal. That's good. I think I'm just going to do a little bit of magenta removal there. We'll head towards the green. Slight bit warmer. We'll make it look like the sun is really being golden there. And let's start getting selective here. So I do just want to black out that bottom section there. It's just dark water and a bunch of junk. So watch, I'm just going to throw a linear on and then just completely blacken it. Okay, so we have that. Then we'll throw another linear on this top portion here, and we're just going to darken the highlights, maybe the exposure overall. There we go. We'll do a radial right around this whole area, and then let's minimize that as well and take the saturation down just a touch, maybe the exposure a little bit. There we go. And then we'll do another radial around the coyote itself and do the opposite. So for this one, we're going to lift the highlights, lift the whites a little bit. I don't think I need to add saturation because that kind of does it. And we'll lift the exposure just a tiny bit. All right. There we go. I do like the tree. In this circumstance, it does balance it out quite nicely. I don't know if I'm going to leave the tree that vivid, but let's go into Photoshop and do a few more minor tweaks and a little bit of removal first. So new blank layer. We just got this one random white speck there. So I'll just use the spot healing tool to get rid of that. Then I'll use the clone tool to get rid of this. Yes, I know I have to sample. Thank you, Photoshop. Let's get rid of this power line. Pull back there. And one little speck right down there. We're looking quite clean. Okay, so now let's do a little bit more dodging burning. So I really want to just dim down that mountain range back here. Just so you're not, I don't want the viewer's eye getting pulled up there too much, you know? Like eventually I do, and it's kind of an important part to see the hills up there. And I love, man, the way the light is streaming in on those is just so damn cool. I'm going to mellow this whole section out a little bit more. And then I think, let's do another one. Oops, hit the wrong one there. Let's do another one. Just take down the highlights and see if we can just, some of these tree spots, just mellow out a little bit. And then I think we can get away with even a little bit more punch behind the coyote there, just kind of leading in to that to really make that silhouette stand out there. And then let's just burn down the coyote himself. So I really get the shape of him, right? I just want it to be all about the shape. I don't need to see fur detail here. So I just did a nice dark curve layer. And then any of these areas that are kind of showing a little bit more of the fur, I'm just going to kind of paint them dark. So it just makes this shadowy shape and figure heavier. Yeah, this is doing pretty cool. I'm really happy with the shot. This is the first coyote shot I've ever taken that I'm really happy with. I've never had much opportunity with the species anywhere, but this one was one where I was really happy with just how fast I thought and was able to kind of make that happen. So watch this. So we go before, after, nothing too major, but really brings your attention in down there. And if we close and save this and look at our complete original, there is a good significant change there. I definitely went into the realm of more artistic and creative with this as far as how I edited it. But it was also the vision I had when I shot it, you know. This was exactly what I was picturing when I placed that coyote right in that spot. I should have shot it a little bit darker to begin with, probably. But let's look at that. Quite a big difference from before to after, but yeah, the shot I'm very happy with. I hope you guys enjoy that, and I hope if you didn't watch the shoot on this one, watch the shoot on this one, because this is a prime example of where seeing the scenery and the habitat and being able to think real quickly to put yourself into position and hope for a shot, and just to be able to, you know, kind of see past what you're shooting in that moment to the post-processing and what you can do with a photo and the way you can shoot it and manipulate it and where you can take it, kind of allowed me to have this vision in the field and be able to kind of shoot according to trying to make this happen. All right, let's get started with this one. Not a photo I'm absolutely in love with, so probably going to move through this one pretty quickly. Let's crop out that one random bird flying out to the left. I find more visual interest, I guess, on the upper portion of the photo versus the kind of textured bottom. You know, it's funny when you're in water, if it's calm, it just is such a different look to it. You know, just rippled, rough water is almost never a wonderful look. I do want to really lean into the warmth there. I want to lean into that lens flare, get that background showing some separation from the geese. So we'll lift up the shadows but drop the blacks for contrast. I will throw a linear onto this bottom, try and darken and minimize some of that water down there. And that's about it. Maybe a little too magenta there. Yeah, I can't think of anything else to really do to this photo in here in Lightroom or in Photoshop, honestly. It's just still kind of a busy photo. There's just a lot going on to me. So you know what? In the end, I'm going to go ahead and decide this is not a final edit. This is not something I'm going to put any more time into, and nothing that I'd probably ever share. So there we go. Sometimes I have to play around with it a little bit to make that decision, but there we go. That's it for that one. Okay, this one. First things first, straighten it out. I love to shoot crooked. And I do want to leave just a little bit of that water line down there, and then we'll crop in. Center on this one makes perfect sense for me just because of how that's working there. Now, let's lift up the exposure a bit. Drop the blacks, make sure we have a nice crisp silhouette. I don't want any detail in that hillside there. I'm going to pop the lights on the curve there a little bit, and then we'll start dropping in some gradients here. So I think we'll do a warmer one for that upper portion there. And then we'll stack another one on top of that and throw it a little bit cooler, a little bit magenta, just to kind of shift the hue of the sky there, something like that, I believe. And then we'll just give the whole thing a little boost in saturation. Let's go ahead and go right into Photoshop. Just a couple of minor tweaks to do here. Nice blank layer. I don't know if there's some just some oddball stuff sticking up on that hillside there. I don't know if those are ducks or just junk in the water, but it doesn't really matter. And then, yeah, I think in here I'm just going to do one more added bit of warmth in the middle there. So we'll do a reduction of yellow, or I'm sorry, an add of yellow, so reduction of blue, and a little bit of red addition there, and we'll invert that. In fact, the whole top sky looks good like that, so let's use a gradient in here. Let's grab our gradient tool, just drop it in like that. We'll apply it to the upper portion. Done. There's my goofy sandhill crane coming into land with a cool sky. That's the nice thing about silhouettes, isn't it? You can just kind of have your way with the sky and do whatever you'd like with it. There we go. That's better color. The original is going to look a little flat. See that? And that's what I mean. You can just kind of shift the color there. I took a bit of artistic license with that one. So, seeing as how I went so far with that, let's actually back off of that a little bit more. Back into Photoshop I go. I'm just going to take this particular layer right there and just drop the opacity down a good bit. That's a little bit closer to the original color, but still something visually pleasing. We'll save that and close it. It's still not near the original, but it's closer. So I'm happy with that. There you go. All right, that's all I had to do for that edit. It would be nice if the bird was facing me, but you kind of can't tell. It's hard to tell if it's like landing towards me or away, which is the other nice thing about a silhouette. So there we go. Silly, goofy sandhill crane. Not entirely sure what to do here. I do think I want to get rid of the shoreline in the foreground there. There's not much of a shoreline to level with just because so much of it's out of focus, but we'll try that. And then maybe just saturate the whole thing, brighten a little bit, slight shadow lift, drop the blacks for contrast. You know, I don't like how heavy it is on that side, so we'll come in a little bit off of that. There we go. And then shift up just a little bit more. There was a little bit more of that darkness coming in down there. That's kind of interesting. Man, I mean, what else do I do to this? Not really a whole heck of a lot to do in Photoshop there. I'm really happy with this. Just kind of something a little different, you know. Just got a dreamy look to it. It's kind of neat to see the birds taking off. You can see the mountainous habitat there. So let's just take this into Photoshop, save out my Photoshop format there just to keep things consistent. And now I have that Photoshop file right there, ready to go. All right, there you go. That was a super easy edit. This one I think is going to allow me to do a little bit more. So it all feels crooked. So number one, I want to straighten it. I don't have any clear horizon line, but just kind of the feeling of the mountainscape back there, I just want to level out. These were 2 other cranes there, so I'm just going to probably clone out that reflection on them, but let's add a little bit more contrast overall there, something like that. And I think I want to get real selective with the color and everything, so I'm going to do all that in Photoshop. So let's take this into Photoshop here. New blank layer. Let's clone out these cranes here. They should be easy to remove. They're so blurry. So it's just kind of getting rid of those reflection smudges that were there. I mean, you can kind of see their bodies there, but whatever. I'm not too worried about that. And then I think I'm just going to use a regular paintbrush, I'm going to sample that color right there and just dim down these reflections back here in the water. There we go. Okay. All right. Now we're going to try and lead the viewer's eye into this. So let's do a strong burn here. And we're going to take some off of this side, mellow out this a little bit, dim down and dull down that top edge just slightly. Then we'll do another curve. I want to try and get more color in that mid section there in the sky. So I do want to dim it down, but I don't want to lose that much color. I actually want to gain some. There we go. And you know what? Back to this. I'm going to dull this just a little bit more in the middle here because I do want it to be the brightest around the crane there. So we'll brighten that back up, add some contrast, and let's paint that in right around that crane. Probably not the water underneath of it, just right in that whole vicinity there is good. Now we'll start coloring. And I'm going to go to the blue channel, remove some of that to make it more yellow. Go to the red channel, add some of that to make it more red. And we'll try and put some of that orange in there. Reflect a little bit of that into the water down here. Maybe less red, so I'll remove some of that using my arrow keys on the keyboard. Back to the blue channel, make it a little bit more yellow. And then let's enhance that blue in part of the sky. So we'll add some blue and then we'll go to the red channel and take some of that out. So we'll go to that nice deep kind of almost midnight cyan blue, right? Look at that. There we go. And then we're going to kind of reflect some of that in these tones down here, get it kind of like electric blue looking, which is pretty fun and wild there. And there we go. I think that is going to be it for that photo. Before, after, you can see how my attention definitely gets pulled more into there, and the overall color scheme I think is a little bit more clean and vivid, and a shot I'm happy with. Yeah, that's kind of a fun. I wish there was a little bit more action on the tilt shift there, like I would have had it more blurred on this side, but there's just enough. I mean, it's kind of neat to see the mountain range line there just get out of focus as it goes towards the right, plus the front image, you know, this whole area is slightly out of focus, so it's got that sort of weird trippy look to it that doesn't make a lot of visual sense. And so yeah, there we go. I'm happy with that one. Pretty cool. All right, so that's it, everybody. There are the final images. I'm going to skip that flight set now, that flock in flight, I should say. That's a fun one to say, flock in flight. Anyway, here we go. That's the set. I hope you guys enjoy. That's my first visit to Bosque del Apache.